Auburn recruiting is about to kick into overdrive. Let's break it down.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Dadgum Tuesday. We got a basketball game tonight, but today we're going to talk about recruiting. It's been quiet for a while. I know everybody kind of goes into panic mode a little bit. It's been a dead period for, it seems like, a month. I guess it technically has been a month at least. Maybe not quite a month, but February is not a very action-packed recruiting month, but it's about to kick off big time as the dead period is lifted. We're now in a quiet period where kids can visit campus. We're going to break down all the details around that, where Auburn stands, and what to look at in the very, very near future, what to look for in the very, very near future. But before we get started, you know we got to give a shout-out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Use the scoop on. A new word, a little scoop on the Barn 25. Take 25% off your order. Shout out to your boy George from the Barn that came up with that term. Scoop on. Scoop it up with some Uncle Keith's salsa. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce is a locally made, locally shipped, Auburn family invented Southern style salsa. Unbelievable texture. Zach loves it. Dap loves it. Everybody that tries this stuff loves it. You guys need to check it out. If you live in the state of Alabama, you can go to any Publix. If you live in Birmingham, you can go to any Piggly Wiggly. If you don't live close to either one of those, you can go to UncleKeithsRedSauce.com and order some sent to you. And don't forget to use the scoop on the Barn 25 to save big. I got so many texts about celebratory salsa after Auburn took down Kentucky Saturday. So get your celebratory salsa ready for basketball season. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, it's good, y'all. It's been boring, I'm not going to lie, when you talk about recruiting. There's just nothing happening. A dead period is 100% that. It's dead. It's completely dead. You just hear speculation. You had the junior day back in January, and then it's just been crickets. Just nothing going on. And I think that's probably by design. That's why the calendars are the way they are, to kind of give everybody a break, the students a break, the kids a break, and give the coaches a little break. But it's about to be on. It's about to be completely on. The dead period was lifted yesterday, actually. It opened up yesterday, so we're in a quiet period. We're in a quiet period until the middle of April. What a quiet period means is recruits can visit your campus, and you can still communicate the way you've always communicated. Coaches just can't leave campus. That's lifted in the middle of April, and then that rolls through about towards the end of June, and then it's dead again. So it's pretty different. It's very abbreviated, but this next couple of months is going to be really, really important. Think about all of the things that are going on between now and the end of April. You're going to start having official visits, believe it or not. You're going to start having official visits very, very soon. You have Big Cat Weekend, which is now on April 5th, because July is now a complete dead period, the whole month. You know, you used to have the end of July, blowout to get ready right before fall camp started. Now you're bumping that all the way back to April. I'm curious to see what the turnout's going to be, and I'm curious to see how that whole deal is going to go down, because again, you're going to be having official visits and stuff before, after, maybe even have some during, hopefully not, because when they come on an official visit, you want to have as much time and dedication as you can. And, Big Cat Weekend is going to be very, very important. Right after the big couple of weeks after Big Cat Weekend, you got the A-Day game. It's crazy, man. April's now going to become one of the more action-packed recruiting months, maybe, of the whole season. of the whole year. It's going to be fun. Auburn's sits really, really well currently, but now is whenever you really start to make waves and start to pick up commits and start to pick up momentum to kind of not really finish off, but really kick your 2026 class into overdrive. Remember last year, this is kind of when Auburn started to pick up some steam. And I think that's going to happen again this year. And we'll talk about why here in just a second. But let's talk about the class currently. Let's talk about the class. We've talked about the schedule. We know what's upcoming. Let's talk about the class currently. Just have a quick little refresher. I'm going to do something. I'm going to try to share my screen a little bit. See if we can get this done. Oh, bang. There we go. Got the screen share. We're looking at ESPN's class ranking. Auburn currently, depending on what recruiting service you look at, ranked somewhere in the neighborhood of the top 5, top 6 in the country. Really good start to the year. And you have some very, very high quality kids already in the class. ESPN loves Devin Carter. I think he's the 41st ranked overall player in their rankings. Douglasville, Georgia wide receiver. Super excited when that kid pulled the trigger back in January. He is just pure electricity. I mean, he is as elite as it gets. Not super big, 6 foot, like I said, 6'1", 175 pounds. That 175 is probably generous right now, but elite speed, elite route running. Love that kid already. Hezekiah Harris. He committed all the way back on Big Cat weekend last year. You see that July 27th of last year. He's somebody that you're going to have to battle to keep. Everybody wants him. Florida wants him so bad. And he likes Florida. So you're going to have to battle to keep this kid. But he's just one of those edge defensive ends this class is just riddled with talented edge defensive end pass rushing type players, 6'5", 220. He's probably a little bit bigger than 220, to be quite frank. Jumped on early, got to keep him. Jermichael Garrett, another one. Look at that date. Look at that commitment date. July 27th. Big Cat weekend last year. You had 3 of these guys commit on Big Cat weekend. Kind of a little tweener, outside linebacker, could play a little bit of safety, athletic. Another one you got to fight to keep if you want him. Everybody's going to want him. He's been committed for a really long time. My man, Shadarius Tootle, everybody knows I love my man, Shadarius Tootle. I think he's a rock solid Auburn Tiger. 6'3", it says 215. He's 220 plus. Looks like a prototype middle linebacker. They love him at middle linebacker. He just released recently. He's going to take all of his official visits. That was Hugh encouraged. So when you see that out there, don't worry. This kid loves Auburn. Auburn loves him. Hugh has, definitely encouraged him to take his visits and enjoy the process, and he's going to do that. So Shadarius Tootle, another great defensive prospect, man. You see the defensive flavor here. You got 4 of your 6 commits on defense. Denarius Gray, wide receiver from Shamadan, Madonna. I think that's where, little guy, running back. Ran through the dude's face. I'm losing. I'm drawing a blank regardless. Sean Shivers. That's his high school. I was worried about Denarius Gray because he committed so very long ago. I mean, he committed January of 2024. So he's been committed for over a year. And you still got, he's going to basically have been committed for 2 years if Auburn signs him. Everybody wants this kid. Ohio State wants this kid. Miami wants this kid. He came back to a visit in Auburn recently and seems to have reaffirmed his commitment. I was worried about it, quite honestly. I was worried about it a little bit. He sort of locked back in. It's big, man. Those 2 wide receivers, holy cow. And then you're looking at other big-time wide receivers to kind of complete the class. Big-time stuff. And then Wayne Henry, our boy from St. Francis Academy, who every time I hear people talk about him, they get more excited and more excited. smaller guy, probably going to be a nickelback, but will hit you in the mouth and tell you about it. Love me some Wayne Henry. He committed last August. So that's your 6 that gets you. You're already close to the top. You're inside the top 10 of the country in 2026, and you're about to start adding to it big time. But man, what a good base to start with. What a really good base to start with. We're going to talk about what's next and Auburn making waves maybe in the state of Georgia here in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Rhoback. Go to Rhoback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Any kind of polo you can imagine. If you love prints, you love solids, you love stripes, they got them all. If you love hoodies, they got all kind of colors. They even got some printed hoodies. You like quarter zips, they got quarter zips. You love regular golf pants, they got regular golf pants. You love joggers, they got joggers. You want shorts, they got shorts. You want hats, they got hats. Flat bills, structured, unstructured, they literally have the whole package. It's the place to be. Go to Rhoback.com. Don't forget to use that coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order and save big. Rhoback.com. Auburn, who's next? I know we've been talking. Okay, Kyle, you've been talking about all this momentum. Okay, what is that? Where does that momentum lead us? Who's next? What's on the board? I think Auburn is really about to make some waves in Georgia, particularly Grayson High School. You had Travis Burgess come in for junior day, and you were curious, is Travis Burgess the guy that's going to be the quarterback for this class? Seems like Auburn really likes him. You're flirting with Jared Curtis, the number 1 quarterback in the country. You're flirting with a couple of other guys, but you really like Travis Burgess. Jared Curtis goes out and he narrows down his official visits. He's only visiting, I believe, Oregon and Georgia, pretty much eliminating Auburn. I'm sure Auburn will still communicate, but that recruitment's probably – I never really thought that one would go very far. He feels like a Georgia kid to me. But Oregon's been making some waves too, especially in the NIL game. So this is the year Auburn, I felt like didn't necessarily have to go get the best quarterback in the country. Didn't have to go get another 5-star. Get you a guy that is maybe local. That'd be a plus. That can help with recruiting. And then it's got the tools to be a good player. Travis Burgess checks every single one of those boxes. Awesome frame. 6'4", 6'5". I stood next to him. I would say every bit of 6'4", even without the hair. He's got some big hair. But I'm talking just top of the head. I'm not talking about the hair. The hair makes him about 6'8". But 6'4", 6'5", whatever you want to call it, right around 200 pounds, a little bit under 200 pounds. Played at a powerhouse last year, won the state championship. Cannot speak highly enough about, can't put enough value on what it's like to get a kid that comes from a winning program. I mean, those kids come in, they're not used to losing. I mean, they lost their first game, if I'm not mistaken. They lost their very first game, their opening game. And I'm sure they played some powerhouse from some other state. And they won every single game from there on out. They beat Thompson High School in a very, very close game. He had a pretty good game in that game. Go on to win the state championship, beat Carrollton, Julian Lewis in the state championship. Threw for 2,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Great decision maker, great frame, great speed, rushed for another 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. So right at just under 3,000 total yards from scrimmage. I think he could be your quarterback of the class. And I think it could happen relatively quickly. There isn't a formal date yet in March, but I know whenever he was here back in January, he said he wanted to come back in March and bring his family. It's typically a good sign. When you're coming back with your fam, that's typically a good sign. So I would imagine if I was a betting man, I would say Travis Burgess is going to be your quarterback. You're going to have the starting quarterback from Grayson High School that knows how to win, knows how to play. I know people are going to say, oh, he's surrounded by a ton of talent. Well, you know what? When he gets to Auburn, he's going to be surrounded by a ton of talent. Multiple stacked recruiting classes. Hey, if you can win with talent, that's perfect for what we got going on here at Auburn and the way this roster is being built. So I'm definitely watching that one. And then his teammate, Anthony Davis. There's a couple of Anthonys in this class, and it's hard to keep them separated. But Anthony Davis is also from Grayson High School, linebacker. You're fired up about him. You need to be fired up about him. He's another kid. I mean, you can say a lot of the same things for Travis Burgess, for Anthony Davis. A winner. Plays on a really good defense that didn't give up a lot of points. Made a pile of tackles, 105 tackles, 3 sacks, bunch of pass deflections. The kid knows how to play football. He's a football player. He's one of those guys that's 6'2", 200 pounds that you just put on the field, and he's a football player. He could pretty much be good at football no matter where you put him, minus maybe the offensive line. He'll gain some weight, obviously, when he comes to Auburn, but Kenyatta Watson loves this kid, obviously from Grayson. Auburn loves this kid. I would expect him to visit pretty soon, and I think you could get him on the board pretty quick. There is a lot of irons in the fire in the state of Georgia this year. Auburn made waves last year, in the state of Alabama. They've done it for a couple of years now. Recruit local. And I think they'll still do really, really well in the state of Alabama this year. But Georgia seems to be where they're looking to make some noise. I mean, you're looking at Bryce Tiller from Langston Hughes that you're trying to get, a big guy. You got Bryce Perry Wright from Buford that you're looking really good. Ernest Rankings, who you're looking really good with. I mean, you're Joe Lamar, running back from Georgia. That's probably your number one running back target. He's going to be tough to get from Georgia, but you just see a theme of Auburn really wanting to make some noise in Georgia. When Auburn's been the best, they've done really well in the state of Georgia. So buckle up, guys. The recruiting is going to pick up. It's going to start picking up quickly. You could even have some visits this weekend. You could have some visits scheduled this weekend, and then it's just going to be on from there. And before we know it, I mean, we're a month away now from Big Cat Weekend. It's crazy. Last year you had, 5 commitments? You had 2 2025 commits. I'm sorry, 2 2024 commits and 3 2025 commits. Big Cat Weekend last year. I'm curious if the moving the date forward even more hurts you picking up 2027 commit. Like, how we got 3 commits from the next class last year. I wonder if that affects your ability to get commits because, gosh, think about it. Think about being, in the recruiting process, being committed to a school for like a year and a half or longer, dang near 2 years. When all your other buddies are going on visits and doing this and doing that and committing and decommitting and, getting NIL calls and all that kind of stuff. I'm curious if that affects that, but it's just right around the corner. It's going to be exciting. Exciting spring for recruiting for sure. And we should have constant updates. So definitely make sure you check out thebarnauburn.com, subscribe, take $25 off your annual membership. Jump in there and get the recruiting updates, get the friendship, the community. The game threads are elite. A lot of fun at thebarnauburn.com. And then if you need a real estate agent, hit me up. You know my name. You know where to find me. Find me on Twitter. You can message me on Twitter, message me on Instagram. Doesn't matter. You can email me at krush, crush with a K, at thekeyagency.realestate. If you're in Auburn, I'd love to help. If you're moving to Auburn, I'd love to help. If you want to invest in Auburn, I'd love to help. I'm your guy. Give me a shout. Again, Kyle Rush, you know me, with the Key Agency. Guys, if you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We'll be back again soon. Be back again tomorrow. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.